Welcome back to segment 2 of Citizens Forum, being filmed in the beautiful Memorial Arena in Victoria. I want to thank our volunteer crew and Shaw staff who make it all possible. We're talking to, in this segment, Torrance Coste of the Wilderness Committee, which used to be called more the Western Canada Wilderness Committee, WC², and a group that I have always liked over the decades, because I thought WC², more than most groups, was standing pretty true to, I think, what people want. It was always more a citizen, not citizen, but people-based group. We're going to be talking about the Raven coal mine to start with, so take it away, Torrance.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Great to bring some attention to this issue that I don't feel gets enough coverage. The Raven coal mine is a proposed coal mine for here on Vancouver Island, more specifically in the Comox Valley, and it's a travesty that more people aren't concerned about this. The proposal is to mine 30 million tons of rock and coal from the mine. Just under half of that is actual usable coal, and that'll be shipped out by truck.
Okay, so just let's go back to the fact that the government and I guess a mining company are planning to open up a fairly major coal mine right here on Vancouver Island, largely unbeknownst to any of us. I mean, I know about this only because I got some emails, a couple of years ago, and I started to hear about it, but you never see anything in the media about this, what seems to me a very important issue. We've got a provincial election going on. I think it should be an issue, but it's not even talked about. So where exactly is the mine proposed for, and how long in the process are we?
So the site itself is on private land, about 4.5 kilometers uphill from Fanny Bay. This is
for those of us who don't know where exactly.
Fanny Bay is in southern Comox Valley, about 20 minutes south of Courtenay on the Old Island Highway. Fanny Bay is a contentious place to put a coal mine. It's the Bain Sound is where 70% of BC's shellfish are produced. I'll get into that more later. The reason, I mean, that it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, media headlines are dominated with a certain pipeline proposal. This mine is just as far along in the process. It was submitted at the beginning of April for final review. Essentially, it's in a holding period right now where they're reviewing the application to make sure they met all the things that essentially the review bodies asked for to be in the final review. From here, we're expecting mid-May, right around a certain other pretty high-profile provincial event, for that final application to be released publicly, and from there it enters the final 180-day review stage. Within there's going to be a public comment period. It'll be 50 days, and for us, it's a huge opportunity. It will be the last legal opportunity for the public to speak out against this project.
You know, it reminds me of a line I heard very recently, which was that a lie can be halfway around the world before the truth even gets its shoes on. And this seems to be like that kind of thing, because I think you just said it's entering the final review stage. Nobody, you have to commend the people who run this province for being able to keep something like this so completely secret from the people of Victoria. Maybe people want a coal mine in Courtenay. Maybe we think that's the best idea we've ever had, especially at a time of climate change disaster. We think that a coal mine is absolutely great. But the amazing thing is, we don't even know about it. They don't even tell us about it.
A big part of that is watershed rights. If you live in the Capital Region or the Greater Vancouver region, like most British Columbians by population do, then our watersheds are controlled by our municipalities. They're owned by our municipalities. The rest of British Columbia, essentially, anything goes in their drinking water supplies, including, shockingly, coal mining.
Yeah, well, you should see some of the stuff our own municipality did to us in our watershed. I mean, they were clear-cut logging it not that long ago, but that's another story. So it's entering the final review stage. Yeah. Who's the company?
The company is called Compliance Energy, which is Amusing. They're actually a Vancouver-based company. The project is directed through something called the Comox joint venture, and it's 60% owned by Compliance, and 40% is owned by two global investment corporations, Itochu Corporation out of Japan and LG from South Korea, phones, TVs. They're basically in it all. So they're bankrolling 40% of this proposal, and they'll have a big influence on where the end product of this mine goes, which is of concern in terms of climate change.
When is the final decision going to be made, do you think?
So the review process basically can be paused if there's huge deficiencies in the application. In the preliminary application, there has been deficiencies in the past. In their initial application, they didn't have anything going over how they get their coal out of BC. They didn't have anything on the port site, which is a huge part of the project, a huge part of the proposal. You can't just build the mine and not have any plans in place for shipping it out for environmental mitigation at the port site. So the company has definitely a poor track record in that regard, but if everything goes as fast as it can, we're going to see the review process wrapping up in October, November. From there, it'll go both to the cabinet, the federal and provincial cabinet, and it needs thumbs up from both the Environment Minister of Canada and the Environment Minister of British Columbia. The latter of which is yet to be decided. From what we're looking at is basically we need a no from one of those ministers, and flooding the comment period this spring is going to be how we're going to get there.
Okay, so how do people get in touch with you guys to get the information that we need to be able to comment?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it is a big process. We have all the information about the mine on our website, wildernesscommittee.org/coal.
So wildernesscommittee.org/coal.
Okay. And when it comes to public comment period for this, we do this with many different issues, make it as easy as possible for people to get the information they need and make an informed comment to the process.
Has any polling been done to find out what people want in say, Victoria and Vancouver about this coal mine?
In Victoria and Vancouver, the issue doesn't have that kind of profile. In the Comox Valley, it's a household issue, and there hasn't been any polling done. The groups that work to oppose it are small grassroots citizen groups. A lot of my work is in support of those activists who are working so hard. But I know there's a petition on Denman Island, and I believe it has something over 90% of the island's population has signed this petition against this coal mine.
What's your feeling about, let's say, the whole Courtenay area? Do people want the coal mine there?
No, I would say that they don't. I saw one of the candidates who's running for MLA up there spoke recently, and she said that it's the issue she hears most about when she's campaigning at the door, which is interesting. But I'd say just in terms of letters to the editor in the papers and turnouts at the town hall, at the public meetings that have happened over the past few years. This is a process that's a few years in the making. The overwhelming majority are opposed to this project, are opposed to this economic direction, sort of short-sighted resource extraction, industries that guaranteed are based on resources, that are guaranteed to run out. It's not the direction we should be heading anymore.
So what's the position of the Liberal Party on this, as far as you know?
The Liberal Party, they've stated that they want to wait for the current review process to be completed. They'll look the environmental review process they have a lot of trust in, and they've said once they make their recommendation, they'll make their decision, or they'll take their position on it from there.
And what's the position of the NDP?
The NDP has acknowledged that the review process is broken. The review process for projects like contentious mines needs work, which we'd absolutely agree with. Where we disagree with them is we don't think any amount of review would make this project acceptable.
Well, I'll just reread the press release from the NDP that I read when Walter was on. Dix says yes to growth in mining and natural gas. So certainly the NDP is saying they support mining, and I think from this press release, one would have to be worried that they will approve a coal mine on Vancouver Island, and I'm absolutely sure the Liberals will as well. So this is the problem. The public doesn't want it. The media keeps it secret so nobody knows about it, and the politicians doing the corporate bidding will basically approve it. So we're in trouble. There's a water quality issue, and maybe that ties into acid mine drainage.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain.
So first of all, there's water quality concerns. There's also water quantity concerns. The mine located uphill from the community of Fanny Bay will have first shot at the fresh water. They'll use 500 cubic meters a day, up to 500 cubic meters a day, which is about the same as a medium to large size hotel. That's water that won't be available to the community, which already has water shortage issues in their aquifer in the late summer, August and September. Water quality, again, is the huge concern. So just under half of the material that will be removed from the mine, so about 15 million tons will be coal, will be exported. Just under a ton a year will be exported. The rest basically will be, just under 1 million tons a year. The rest will be waste product. It'll be left on site.
So every year, did you say 2 million tons?
About 1.8 million tons of material will be removed.
Okay, every year from the mine, 1.8 million tons. That's about 4 billion pounds of stuff will be coming up.
And just under half of that will be leaving the site on trucks, some of the biggest trucks Vancouver Island's ever seen on our public highways to Port Alberni. The rest, just over half, will be staying on site, uncovered in piles.
So that's about, now, you said 1.8
million tons. So
let's say a million tons.
Yeah.
1 million tons a year for the 16-year life of this mine. So at the end, we'll have 16 million tons of rock that has been brought up and piled around. And this is an environmental disaster that a lot of people, including myself, know nothing about, called acid mine drainage.
Disaster is almost the wrong word to use. I'd call it legacy. This remains contaminated, in some cases toxic, for thousands of years, far longer than the human scale. Acid mine drainage, acid rock drainage is one of the most common environmental legacies of mines around the world. Essentially, the sulfur is a very commonly occurring element in coal seams and in different mineral seams around the world, and it's left on site as part of these tailings, as part of these rock piles. When it rains, the hydrogen in the rain combines with sulfur to form weak sulfuric acid that enters the riparian ecosystem. It's entrained in the environment, and anything that depends on fresh water, including the entire Bain Sound ecosystem, is exposed to that acid. Which is a huge concern, and again, it'll be a problem for far longer than probably the companies in business.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a problem for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So 4 or 5 kilometers away from this 16 million tons of acid mine drainage rock are some of the best shellfish sites.
That's right. The Bain Sound shellfish industry is one of the top shellfish producing regions in Canada. It's been operated on a commercial scale for a century, and the shellfish resources have been managed forever from local First Nations like the Comox. It's sort of the definition of a sustainable industry. It has no market impact on the environment, and it employs 600 people year-round, again, with only room to grow. The mine will employ maximum 250, 300 people for 16 years. Not only does it not even compare in the jobs department, but it threatens all the other more sustainable jobs.
Will it damage or destroy the shellfish industry?
The risks are extremely likely that it will.
So then you'd have to say that even our governments could not be crazy enough to approve something like this, and yet it's gone ahead to the final review process, which must mean it has a fair bit of support to get to this point.
And that's where we differ from basically all the parties running. We don't think for projects like this short-sighted with this big risks that.
How about the Green Party?
The Green Party has stated opposition to the mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because there's a few other things you want to talk about. So, transportation impacts. We've only got 5 minutes left.
Yeah. So this is a huge issue as well. Again, the coal has to be transported from the mine site near Fanny Bay to the port of Port Alberni.
So it's going from Fanny Bay, kind of across the island to Port Alberni.
That's right. There's been a few different options thrown around, rail or by truck, and the company's identified by truck as their optimum means of transportation, their most cost effective. That's because they'll run their trucks on our public infrastructure, and when those roads get broken down by the trucks, you and I will pay for it. The company doesn't have to
do so.
Doesn't have to pay.
As long as the company is making money.
So it's clear that's why they've picked that option. The trucks will travel down public highways 19 and then Highway 4. The Highway 4 between sort of Coombs area and Port Alberni is one of the more dangerous highways on Vancouver Island. The trucks will rumble right through Cathedral Grove once every 20 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
One truck every 20 minutes.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day.
7 days a week. For 16 years.
16 years. How big are these trucks?
They're called double B train trucks, and they're several tons. They rank with the biggest trucks ever on Vancouver Island. Obviously, in times where we have a far greater population. Through Cathedral Grove. I mean, I don't know if you've been in Cathedral Grove on a holiday-long weekend, but it's extremely crowded. It's extremely dangerous. From there, they'll go right through downtown Port Alberni, right through the waterfront area that's been revitalized into a tourism destination and to the port.
What's the feeling in Port Alberni?
Port Alberni, I'm glad you brought it up. Port Alberni is a community that traditionally has put a lot of eggs in resource extraction, in the resource extraction baskets. Those resources, salmon and timber, as they decline, the economic situation gets a lot more dire. That being said, to say no to basically any project that would create any jobs at all is the situation's different in Port Alberni. That has to be respected. The opposition isn't quite as strong in Port Alberni, but again, knowledge about this mine isn't as high because it's not in Port Alberni. It's in the Comox Valley. That being said, there still are some allies there that we work with. There's lots of people that don't want to see these trucks on their roads. There's lots of people that don't want to see these tankers in the Alberni Inlet. There'll be huge tankers.
We don't want a coal mine in BC that we don't even know about. Torrance, we're almost out of time, unfortunately, but the last issue I think you wanted to talk about, well, we didn't even get to the old-growth forests, but the impact on future economic development on Vancouver Island.
Yeah, again, I touched on communities on Vancouver Island, Gold River, Port Hardy, places like this that have been dependent on resource extraction. Those resources go away, the economy falls off a cliff, and the community suffers. This has happened up and down this coast with resources like salmon and timber that renew themselves in a few years, in the case of salmon, a few decades in the case of timber. And we're looking to do the exact same thing with coal that is made out of dinosaurs. It'll never be here again. It absolutely makes no sense from an economic development standpoint.
What's the Wilderness Committee's direction? Moving to something other than coal?
Yeah, moving to industries that can be sustained, that can be operated for longer than a decade or two. They'll sustain the economic prosperity in the community, and they'll have less of an effect on the environment.
Yeah,
environmental sustainability and economic sustainability go hand in hand, and we're looking to see us use our relative prosperity in this part of the world to lead the way in going down the road to sustainable industries and away from unsustainable projects.
Torrance, Coste, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
From the Wilderness Committee, please just Google, I guess, Raven Coal Mine if you don't want to go
Raven
there.
Coal Mine video. We've got a great sort of 4-minute video online.
Thanks for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.